Welcome to this collaborative event between the Liu Institute Network for Africa and the Collective for Gender Plus in Research as part of our African Women's Leadership Series. We are joined today by three fantastic African women who are shifting the tech landscape in Africa, and we are excited to get started. Ethel Cofie, she is the CEO and founder of Ethel Technology Consulting, an IT consulting and digital product company in West Africa and Europe, who was recently named IT Consulting Firm of the Year by the telecoms and IT industry, and also the founder of Women in Tech Africa, Africa's largest women in tech group, with members in over 30 African countries and physical chapters in Ghana, Kenya, London, and growing. Women in Tech Africa supports the entry and success of women in the technology sector across the African continent and supports the increase in women's socioeconomic well-being through tech. Please take the floor, Ethel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. And shout out to everybody, especially anybody doing their PhD in the list, only because I'm extremely jealous. I've been dreaming to actually go do my PhD, but time and effort. But yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. A little bit about me, and then I will go into a few thoughts and then what Women in Tech Africa does. So my story is relatively similar to a lot of women, I think, that went into technology career. So my dad's an engineer, and so I was very much influenced by sort of that sort of environment. And so when I finished high school, and was waiting to go into, well, when I finished secondary school, I was waiting to go to university. I was pretty sure I was going to go in and do some sort of engineering. And I was more likely looking at civil engineering because my dad's a civil engineer. And we had all these dreams about what daughter and father business, you know. And then I think while I was waiting, there's a 1 year wait. I was in Ghana, so the 1 year wait to go into university. He said to me, "Look, listen, go do some computer course. Well, while I wait time instead of which is what most teenagers do, which is wake up and watch TV all day and do nothing because we have nothing to do." And so he sent me off to do this computer course. Which had elements of programming and that sort of thing. And I think the thing that most appealed to me was I've always thought of myself as creative, but in that taking an idea and a thought into fruition versus arty creative, right? And as it was explained to me by the lecturer in the class, said the computer is dumb. You are smart and you can make it do whatever you want it to do. And that was the thing that hooked me. It was the idea that I could create using, I could create stuff. I could build software, I could do stuff. I didn't need to be arty or, you know, I'm arty in, I'm actually really bad at drawing or anything like that. But I genuinely believe that I was creative. And so that led to this journey of then changing my mind about going to do a civil engineering degree, and then I'm doing a computer science degree, and then moving to the UK to then do a master's in distributed systems. And then after a couple of years, I decided I did want to start a business because again, I'm from an entrepreneurial family, but there's a thing about psychological safety, and I didn't feel psychologically safe doing it in the UK. It just made sense for me to come home and be in a place where with family to start a business. And so I moved back to Ghana and then we started Ethel Technology Consulting. And that's, you know, another story for another day. And then part of that, while I lived in London, I was part of a group called the London Girl Geeks. And I absolutely loved just what happened there and the conversations and the connections that I made to the London Girl Geeks. And so when I came back to Ghana, I needed to have the community and the network. And so we started Women in Tech Africa it literally started with an email to 5 women that I knew that were in tech. And I said, hey, listen, I'll bring drinks, I'll have a place, and y'all can come hang out. 70 women showed up. So there was clearly a need. And it was amazing because at the time, the head of Google Ghana was, Estelle was a woman, the head of Microsoft in Ghana was a woman, and she came with her team, and then Estelle came with her team, and they all came with their teams, and it just gave us so much credibility. And so we went from 70 women in Ghana to 5,000 women in 30 African countries. Long story in between, but and I'll speak a little more about Women in Tech Africa, but I did want to, these are the things I really did want to talk about. In terms of the countries that are winning or are setting themselves up for winning in the technology space in Africa, are countries that are, from a policy perspective, are doing deliberate things, are taking deliberate steps around broadband affordability and access. So it's important, if you look at, if you look up and down sort of the list of affordability of internet, there's a direct correlation with sort of use of internet and the growth of digital skills. And all countries in Africa need to start to think about how you begin to have policy that directly plans around how to increase broadband access for everyone involved, but also to make it affordable and usable for all people involved. And that includes women and includes the sort of the urban rural divide. That's part of sort of the technology shift in Ghana, in Africa. The other thing is countries that really think about skills and skills development. And that's part of a deliberate policy. Rwanda has done a really great job in putting together a policy that deliberately targets digital skills development and creating a workforce of people with digital know-how in their country. And that's part of it, right? So you need to be able to have a deliberate plan for digital development. Next thing would be, sorry, I've got to read, I can't read. Inclusivity, which is, again, rural-urban divide, including being deliberate about gender policies, being deliberate about being able to bring women, and also not designing for women without asking women. We've been involved, we get called in a lot of projects where things have been designed for women, but they haven't actually talked to women. And so part of that is, listen, it makes sense to, like, the simple thing is we're doing something up in northern Ghana, and they built all these things around sort of a feature phone app. But the thing they didn't realize was that most women didn't own phones, or even if there was a phone in the home, it belonged to the husband, right? And they hadn't designed around it. So that's that sort of thinking. I'm going to do this really, really quickly. Sharing. So on Women in Tech Africa. So like I mentioned before, part of, for us, it is creating female role models for tomorrow's women, showing that actually African women are really capable of a lot more than the world thinks we are, and supporting women entrepreneurs in the space. That's a really great map of our spread out. Across Africa, again, 70 women to 5,000 women. I'm always in awe of what the team has been able to do. We have won a few awards. This was with the UN Equals Award for leadership in the technology space. Again, part of our work is ensuring playing in the skill sector and policy space, which is, again, being very deliberate and working with governments and working with organizations that are specific about enabling policy work that will push skills development and growth for women in the technology sector. It's my time up. I think my time is up. And then can somebody say if my time is up? I can't really. Somebody, my time up?
Yes, you've reached
Great.
the.
Okay. Right. So yes, thank you very much. You can check us out on www.womenintechafrica.com and our work around sort of policy and skills development in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. I really love the topics you brought up, and I think that the conversation around affordable broadband internet access could arguably become a human right topic, especially when we think about the future, which, funny enough, the future is now the present, is centered on internet connectivity for transactions and communication. And then thinking about providing access to communities in more remote and inaccessible locations. So this is a very pressing topic. And I'm glad that we have so much diversity of perspectives and issues coming up that, you know, segues nicely into our discussion. So now I would like to welcome the audience to submit their questions. And while the few questions roll into the chat, I grant myself the executive privilege as moderator to ask the first question. So my biggest excitement about this event is that despite the male-dominated and male-focused tech space worldwide, and especially in Africa, we are in a Zoom room with award-winning female tech entrepreneurs who are leaving life-changing impacts and legacies across the continent. So I would like to open the discussion by asking about your personal journeys to getting to where you are. And I ask that you highlight an interaction or partnership with another woman in tech early on in your career that inspired you to take one pivotal step that led you to where you are today.
Sure. Well, yeah, I suppose there are lots of interactions on the way, on the journey. The person that does stand out quite a bit and I speak about often is Ethel Cofie. She used to be country manager for Google Ghana. She's now West African regional head for C-Squared, which is a Google company that works on broadband access issues. She's been when we call somebody a supporter in the rooms where you are not. She's mentioned my name in rooms where I was not in. She would gladly open doors and invite us into places that even as as I was on my journey, I wasn't there yet. She would drag me along. So I'm always excited for women like that have always held my hand and given me a leg up, and hopefully that I'm doing the same for a few women in at least in my space.
To return or not to return to Africa, for some of you who studied abroad, can you share about your experience of that decision-making process? What can you say to a lot of Africans in the diaspora who are equally passionate about contributing to advancing the continent's development? With digitization, can this be attained remotely? Love this question. This is a personal question for me too.
To be honest, when I made the decision, I don't know that I had thought it through thoroughly, to be honest, to be very, very honest. I did not tell my parents I was moving back until I had actually left my job and packed my things, because I would not have been encouraged to come back. Because and the Africans in the diaspora know this more than not. Why are you coming home? What are you coming home to do? And which is why I did it in a way where I was like, well, I'd already burned bridges. I've already told my landlady I'm moving. Like, I have to come home now. I think part of it was, like I alluded before, part of it was the decision was I wanted to start my own business. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs. So it was important to me to at least try and start my own business. But I knew that I needed some sort of, it was a risk I was taking, but I needed my life to be stable in other ways, right? Which meant that I didn't like the idea of being broke in the UK. I could be broke in Ghana. I could go to my parents' house and get food to eat. You know what I mean? And so it was very much about the psychological safety of being around people who loved me and cared about me, and in that cocoon while I took this big risk. And so that's what really fed into the sort of decision to move. And I speak to a lot of people who do this now, and it's really, at the end of the day, it's really a risk. And sometimes people can de-risk it by creating for yourself a brand and a personal role that enables you to come and test it out and go if it doesn't work. You know what I mean? So you could take a sabbatical from your work, on paid sabbatical for a year, and come and see how you feel. I always say that the people that I talk to about coming back, I meet them on social media for about 2 years because they complain for the first 2 years, right? Because nothing works. That's fine. It's just that if you push through the first 3 years, you'll end up staying.
Next question from Nabila, thank you for your question, is, do you see an awakening and/or a shift in priorities and mindsets towards the role of tech and the experience of women due to the pandemic? So this is a question from Tamara, thank you for your question. Each of you mentioned the importance of participation or involvement from the community, and especially women, in the design of the tools you are designing. Can you share an example of how you are doing this and the difference that it makes?
Right. Okay. Like I mentioned, I had the example when we were doing a project that was funded by the Gates Foundation in Northern Ghana, and it was really around sort of health and maternal health. So getting information to the poorest women on just how to take care of themselves, but and reminders on hospital visits and that sort of thing, just managing some of the process around maternal health. And again, we had developers were out. So one set of developers were in Maine in the US, and there was a set of developers here in Ghana. And again, I think it was on products, I was working on the product side of things, and it just, again, I didn't fit that right. So I'm a woman, fair enough. I have kids, fair enough, but my experiences are very different from the experiences of a woman that lives in northern Ghana, the poorest part of Ghana. And so it was helpful to have to go, and we did some designs here and some preliminary designs, but when we went and actually collided with the people that were actually going to use the system, we had to rethink a lot of assumptions we make, and it also goes into the design of skill development projects across the globe. Right? We do quite a bit of it, and it has to go into that because a lot of digital literacy programs don't take into consideration the cultural norms of areas. And sometimes, honestly, it's not your fight to fix the cultural norm. It is maybe to just work around it and provide a product that provides the women access that they need. And so, yes, this is a big thing. This is unfortunately is not a thing that's done as much, but we keep pushing, and I had to justify it. So I think I was talking to somebody from the Tony Blair Institute, and they didn't quite understand why I needed sort of the gender lens in product design. And I just said, listen, here are examples, right? There are examples all over the world where you'll see that if you do not talk to the people that you are designing for, you'll end up with products that don't make sense and that don't help.
What do you think is the role of individuals in how can we convert our individual voices into power? And have you been in a situation where you've personally informed policy change?
So I've been involved, and Women in Tech have been involved twice with the redesign of Ghana's ICT policy. And then I'm currently the chairperson of the board that advises the Ministry of Education section that looks at technical universities and vocational institutions on ICT education. And so I suppose policy in these three roles, defining and pushing policy is sort of part of the job. But what has been, I think, amazing for our work with women in tech and in helping define policy, or at least helping push policy, is being the voice in the room that is willing to push the agenda. For us, the agenda is women and the digital divide and the gender lens. And so I've been in a conversation I talked myself hoarse for 2 hours because Ghana's ICT policy needed to have a gender lens section in it, and it didn't have it. And they didn't understand why I didn't have it. And I spoke and spoke and spoke until I think they just got tired of hearing me talk. And that happened. So that's part of it for us on our side, is mobilizing the voices and having a seat at the table to be able to tell the decision makers what needs to be done to push the technology agenda and at least bridge the digital divide across Africa.